Hi, everyone. Welcome back to my comfy couch. As you can see today, I have an all male panel. Okay. So, no ladies on the discussion today. So, you're going to figure out why. Today, our discussion is going to be how men really feel about marriage. So, lately, girls, if you're in the dating field, it's like pulling teeth to get one of these guys to actually commit to us. Like, we're trying to drag them down the aisle these days. So we're trying to understand like what's going on, how do men feel about marriage these days, and just enlighten us. So I want to thank first of all you guys for being on the line. I always appreciate people that can be brave enough to come on this show and be candid and really help fill us women with information. So first, you guys know Thaddeus. Say hi, Thaddeus.
Hey, how you guys doing?
Let's give it up also for Tori. Tori, say hey.
Hey, how you doing?
Good. And also, let's give it up for Charlie. Say hi, Charlie.
Hey, what's going on?
Okay, guys. So let's go to where it all begins, right? Because a lot of us know as ladies, like from the time we're kids, we're already picking out the color of our, wedding scheme and what it's gonna look like and everything like that. So let's talk about from a guy's perspective. When you guys are like growing up as, kids, do you guys think about marriage at all? Like what's that like for you guys?
I never thought about marriage. It's just something that always just seemed like a girl's dream. Like you were saying. Girls dream about the dress. They dream about walking down the aisle, and however many people they want there. As a little boy, I never thought about that. So
So just marriage didn't cross your mind, or it really just didn't pique your interest? Like what?
I just seemed like when I was a kid, it would just seemed like something that adults do. You see it on TV, like you see it in movies. Just I never really was like, oh man, I can't wait to grow up to get married. I never really thought about that.
How about you guys, Thaddeus, Tori?
For me, yeah, it was never something that was on my to-do list. Like that was like the farthest thing from my mind was, oh, I want to one day get married and have kids and all of that. I thought about so many different other things when I was a kid. Like that was the last thing. Now I knew people because my grandparents were married and my aunts and uncles were married, but that didn't necessarily meant that was something that I aspired because, as a child, I know absolutely nothing about it. So like I was more interested in what I wanted to be when I grew up or going outside to play or hanging with my friends, things of that nature. Like the marriage concept, yeah, that was foreign to me. That was definitely not something that I ever would have brought up as a topic of discussion with any female that I was interested in.
Wow. Oof. Okay. Thaddeus, what about you?
Well, I'm gonna shock you with this one. So this is not normally my outlook, but I could honestly say, even from very, very young, I was always really, really mature. Like I was always a mature person. I always knew what I wanted in life. Like from the time I was in the third grade, I already knew what career I wanted. I already knew like what my life would look like. And one of those things was to be married at a very young age. Yep.
What?
Yeah, believe it or not, like because I grew up in a home where I saw, my mom, my dad, and I kind of saw how they made their marriage work and what that allowed for my dad to be able to accomplish and how the kids turned out. All right, so I said, hey, if I'm going to, I'm going to be successful, I'm going to need somebody to help, and I think that the 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 benefits of marriages would allow, and we'll talk about it as we go along. But it's like the benefits are so much there, and I said that yeah, marriage would definitely be something that gives me a good foundation to be able to excel at life. And then also, I kind of was into, believe it or not, I was into the Disney fairy tale. I used to read a lot of like romance novels and stuff. Believe it or
What?
not, yes.
Lord.
Yeah, yeah. So I love the idea of like that, two people being in love and you guys finding your yeah, I totally. But like I said in the other show, I had to grow up at some point in time.
I was about to say, what happened to you? You're like the Grinch on this show. Lord, okay, so now, so it seems like you were, not the typical type situation, right?
Yeah.
It seems like most guys didn't have a clue, that was not on their radar. So my question is, how does it turn from that? How's it turn from, I don't even see myself getting married, don't even really think about it, don't even care about it, to, you guys actually, getting married or thinking about getting married? Like, what changes that? What can you think about?
For me, it was just evolving, maturing. I ended up meeting someone that's all she talked about was getting married and what life would be like and things of that nature. And because I was interested in her, it allowed me to be open to the idea and hearing what she had to say. And even though on the surface I still had no clue as to what my role as a man would have been outside of, just walking around with my chest out saying, hey, I'm a man, I'm a husband in title, but not knowing exactly how to fulfill that role. And so, like, once the curiosity of being married existed, then I took it upon myself to do all the research that I could possibly do to make myself, when that time comes, the best possible husband and father that I could possibly be. So, like I said, once that seed was initially planted, it just continued to grow from there.
So it was the woman who put it there.
Yeah.
Were you essentially, because that's what I feel like. I feel like it's us. Like, you guys only do it for us. If we left it up to y'all, we would never. I don't know if we get married, if that would like really be a thing. Um, so how about you, Charlie? Go ahead.
I mean, because like I told somebody a long time ago when they were talking about getting married, I was like, how many people do you see that say, oh, I'm going to see so and so get married, and they're more concerned with what the groom has on? Everybody comes to see the bride. Nobody cares about the groom's tux. You can get that anywhere. So everybody comes to see the bride, what she has on, how she's looking. And then a lot of people say, oh, well, this is her day. I mean, you meet some people that say, no, this is our day. But for the longest amount of time, it's always been, this is her day. This is what she spent her whole life looking forward to.
Dang, it's crazy that, society, makes us like that, I guess. Charlie, how about you? Like, how did that change for you?
So first, kudos to Thaddeus, man. When I was in the third grade, I was like watching Power Rangers and X-Men, man. I wasn't even thinking about nothing like that.
Right.
It wasn't until I was 19 when I met somebody really special. And same, she would always talk about being married, and of course, the more we talked about it, the more I, started to like look into it, and just knowing a lot of married people in the family, like friends of the family and everything like that. Seeing how they carried on and things like that. Just one of those things. You just have to mature into it, and want the benefits of it, and learning the benefits of being married and what it's like to have a wife, and what does it mean to have a wife and things like that. So just maturity and just having to learn and grow up eventually.
Oh, so I didn't even think about that before, trying to understand, how do men understand what it is to be a husband and how to be a good husband? Like, are they even, equipped to be that, if they haven't seen that in the home? Or, how did you guys go about, kind of researching and finding out like what a good husband is or what it means to be a husband? That is, tell me.
So, like I said, I got the example from watching my dad and my mom and how they interacted, right? So, like, nobody sat down and actually taught it to me. But they say that the best way that you learn is as a kid is from a good example, and that's how I learned.
Okay. Wow. So it seems like a lot of days, there's a lot of single parents or absenteeism and things like that. So it's a challenge. How are guys finding out these days?
That's why that's if you listen to any type of marriage statistics, they'll always say that if two people come from a household where they both parents had a good marriage, they are likely to stay together. They are likely to make it. If you come from, or if even one comes from a broken home, like the chances of divorce skyrockets just by one person, not even both. So imagine today we have a whole bunch of single folks from single parent family home, and then we're trying to get together and do this, make pretend of something that we've never seen before and something that we don't understand. So,
What
so now
about
you understand why people have to drag men to get married because they won't see the benefit in it. Think about it. If you just grew up with your mom, like you don't you don't have an idea or a picture of what marriage looks like. So it's not something that's going to be beneficial to you. Maybe the only marriage that you've seen, at least the good ones, are the ones that you've seen on TV.
exactly?
Yeah, exactly. So you don't, and then you probably haven't sat down and thought about it as a man. And most guys, like you said, yeah, especially when they're younger, they're not trying to plan their head ahead. Like I was like, maybe like I said, like third grade, I was planning my life to like 30, 40. Like that's how far I was thinking ahead. Yeah, that's how far I was thinking. I was already thinking like, wife, what I'm gonna do, how I'm gonna retire. Like I was trying to plan out my entire life. So of course, a wife would be in the picture for me. But for most guys, they're 19. They just want to let me get a girlfriend and let me do this here and there. Let me just try to survive. Let me just live one day at a time. So marriage won't be in that, on their radar right at that time.
So what about you two guys? Did you guys grow up with an example of what it is, to be a husband, or, how did you guys, or do you think you're not equipped to be a husband? Like, what is your guys' experience?
I grew up with, like I said, I had aunts and uncles, that were married. Clearly, my grandparents were married, but I didn't understand the dynamic of it. I just knew, this was Aunt so and so, this was Uncle so and so. I didn't know, well, how do they go about making their marriage work? Like, I never knew them individually to see how, okay, they came together, they brought their worlds together to make a marriage work. Like when the reality of me existing came about, like I said, it was my aunt and uncle and then my grandparents. Like I would see my grandfather would go out to work and my grandmother was a housewife. So my grandmother, she had this routine where every morning she cooked, she cleaned. My grandfather would come in, he would bring in his check. They would sit at the dining room table, or she would sit at the dining room table, and she'd fill out money orders to pay the bills, and that's it. And I was, as I grew up, I was like, there's got to be more to marriage than this, as opposed to like, do I really need to be married to somebody to have somebody to cook, to clean, to, turn my check over to pay the bills? And it wasn't until I started looking outside, and as I grew and I started listening to pastors and, watching different movies and doing my own research to see, okay, you know what, there is a lot more to being a husband than just having your name and her name signed on a marriage certificate that's either hanging up somewhere or tucked off in a drawer somewhere that you can't find. So that's how I grew into it. To piggyback off of Thaddeus's last comment, when I got to be 19, the person that I was involved with caused me to start, thinking long-term trajectory of, okay, this is when we're going to get married. This is where we're going to live. These are how many kids we're going to have. This is when we plan on having them, and then that's what started that whole ball to moving. But as far as like what my examples were, a lot of my examples I had to seek outside of my immediate family, because not all of the marriages that I saw were necessarily the role model marriages or the epitome marriages that you wanted to necessarily model a marriage after, especially when I did not know the significance of the role of the husband and or the wife as well.
Mm. Oh, I love that. I love that you were talking about how you went and researched yourself, because that's another thing. So do you feel like, through all your research, you now feel prepared to be a husband? Because you're not married, right?
No, I'm not married.
Okay, but you feel like you...
Yeah, now I feel like I'm a lot more ready now than I would have been back then. And that's only due to handling life on my own. through, different experiences, ups and downs and things of that nature, that as a man, it causes you to have tough skin.
Mm-hmm.
And especially if you're raised in a single parent home, you have to realize, okay, you know what? When crap hits the fan, I can't necessarily go running back home when I have a whole wife and kids that are looking to me as to, okay, so what are we going to do now?
Right. Right. Ooh, love it, love it, love it. How about you, Charlie?
So I didn't really have the model or this great example to follow either. My parents got married when I was a little older. Issues with them, like they were like off and on and had their issues. So I didn't see that. I didn't have that example to follow. Like, oh man, like look at dad just being this great husband, and mom just being this great wife. I mean, now they're great. Now I definitely call them like an example. But just growing up, I didn't really have that other than seeing, like Tori, like aunts and uncles, and again, not really knowing them, again, that's just so-and-so, uncle so-and-so. You don't really know them like that, just know what's going on with them. But again, just like getting older and meeting someone and having to kind of do that research yourself and like learn on your own, what it's like to be a husband and what to expect from a wife, and why should I want to be married in the first place? Things like that. But as far as like being ready now, I believe I am. Just after working on myself for so many years, just having a clear cut idea of what I'm doing as far as like my career goes, and working on that. I think I'm definitely ready to have a wife now. Like, where's she at? You know what I'm saying? So it's a matter of finding the right one and just getting there.
Okay. Okay. In this discussion, y'all made me think about a quote that I heard before about how they say women fall in love and then they get married, but men decide that they want to get married, then they fall in love. Meaning like women are always ready as soon as they meet a guy, and if they, love him, they want to rock with him, they want to marry him. But in a lot of discussions I've had with people, it seems like men are kind of the opposite, where it's like they have to feel like, okay, I got the job together, or I'm at a place now that I'm good. Now I can bring this wife in, and then they go look to find somebody to love. Would you guys agree with that?
Somewhat, yeah. Somewhat, yeah.
Yeah, somewhat.
Tell me why somewhat. Tell me.
Because there's a lot of guys who claim or they don't think that they're ready for marriage or anything. But the minute that they meet a woman and like they know that, okay, this is the one, they'll get themselves ready.
Ooh.
I've seen that a lot. Just as a matter of fact, we know of this one person. I won't mention his name, but I thought that this guy would never get married. And then I just heard that he was about to get married. One of our family members.
Oh.
But you see, you'd have never thought, right? And I'm sure he would have never thought. But it's just when you find that person, it's like, okay, for sure, I know that. And then some people do it as like a business decision.
Mm-hmm.
I have a lot of business partners, and that's what they've been telling me, because I think I'm like one of the only ones in that business group. And they're like, no, listen, you just need to make a business decision. Like, make a decision to get married, find a woman. We'll go down the list of all the things that you need. You just find someone, whether you love her or not.
Lord, really? Making transactions out here, huh?
I mean, that's what a lot of, if you the higher you go up financially, is the less and less marriage is about love and marriage. And that's why they say that over a certain income bracket, the divorce rate is really, really low, because it's no longer about this Disney fantasy about, oh, well, I'm going to marry for love. Like, they know that, they understand that we're marrying for, it's more of joining the two families together. So it's more of requirements, right? So it's more like, okay, well, we know the Taylors, or we know the Joneses, and we know that they have good pedigree, and therefore our son is going to marry their daughter. And
wow.
the kids understand that this is what, yeah, I mean,
wow.
they have their cases of infidelity, and they got their problems, but they stay together because marriage is more than just about feelings.
Wow. Whew. I thought you were doing so good when we started, but There's the Thaddeus we know and love. Listen, y'all, like y'all brought up such a good point, which I think a lot of, ladies come to see is you see a guy dating a girl for 5 years, never
Mhm.
marry her. She's hanging in there hoping one day he's going to do it. And then they break up and he turn around and marry the next day within a year. And it's like, what the heck? I thought, you weren't ready, da, 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 da. And boom, he met somebody and did it. So is it like what you were saying, Thaddeus? Guys, the other guys on the line, tell me, is it like no matter what's going on in the guy's life, like if he meets the one, will he do what it takes to be with them? Y'all tell me. Charlie
Absolutely.
and okay.
I think absolutely. If you meet that one and she's the one, then you're gonna do what you gotta do to keep her. You know what I'm saying? If it's just somebody you kind of just playing with, you're not really too sure about, it's like, all right, it's been 6 years, like she comfortable, she ain't saying nothing, I'm comfortable. We kind of just vibing doing our thing. But once you meet that one, it's like, all right, she ain't going nowhere. I gotta, lock that one down. So I definitely agree with that.
Ooh.
And to something Thaddeus was saying earlier, that I agree with. There's a saying, that an older gentleman said to me one time. He was like, something along the lines of, love don't pay, or love don't pay the landlord, or love don't get the rent paid, or something like that. So I definitely understand about being in that upper financial bracket, that it's kind of one of those things where it's a more of a business move. You see, like a lot of people ain't really got like a pot to piss in, or when to throw it out of. Now you're getting married, like yeah, you're trying to get married. You came into this, you don't got nothing. You don't got nothing. And it's just, those are the people that get divorced because they ain't got nothing. So I definitely, I understand that. I see that.
Tell me, Tori.
Well, to respond to what you said about the whole a guy dating a woman for 5 years and then he meets somebody else and they get married, that other woman may not have made it known that marriage is her end goal.
What? We have to tell y'all that? Y'all don't know that.
Here's the thing. Not every woman wants to get married.
99%?
No, it's less than that. So not every woman wants to get married, and then you also have to give a deadline. Like, you don't want to necessarily date for 5, 6, 7 years. Like, I don't think there are this huge group of men that are going to go to a woman after 5 years and be like, hey, are we getting married or what?
Exactly.
So if a man is in a situation where he's dating a woman and she's not putting pressure on him to get married, he's going, why rush it? Like, that's the thought process that he would have. Why rush it? If you're doing all of these things that a wife would do, but we don't have the title, then why would I bring it up? And B, why would I push the issue? Whereas if he meets somebody else and she makes it known, look, I'm not here to play. This is what I want. Either you're for it or you're not for it. Then he has no choice. It's either he steps up or he moves out the way. And if he feels like this woman brings more than what he's currently dealing with, and it allows his life to elevate to a different level, then yeah, he's gonna do everything that he has to secure that woman, investment, whatever word you want to call it, and keep going, because he already knows in the back of his head, look, if the person I'm currently dealing with and I've been dealing with for 5 years, she talks about marriage, she gets frustrated that we haven't gotten engaged, or we've gotten engaged, we haven't set a date, and then they keep going through that cycle over and over again, he already knows how it's going to play out. So he was like, okay, I just got to weather this little mini storm of her fussing and being in her feelings and things of that nature. And then, you know what? Everything's going to be good all over again.
Preach! I love that you're being real, because that's what the ladies need to hear. Guys giving the game. Thank you so much. Tori, listen. Listen, Tori. because you brought up a good point in terms of, I think there's a fine balance, right? Like, you don't want to seem pushy. You don't want to give a guy an ultimatum. Let's say you just met him. You know, you don't want to scare him off, but you do
Right.
want to make your, standards or your,
Why not?
your desires clear to them. So it's like, how do you, what are you shaking your head?
I don't believe in that. Like, even if you meet a guy, just let him know that, listen, I'm not dating just to date. I'm seriously looking to get married.
No,
I
no.
expect,
Exactly.
No, the
yeah,
thing is that I'm
I
saying,
expect to get married. Like, if we're dating, I expect us to get married within a reasonable time. My idea of a reasonable time is within 2 years. I think that's more than fair. I mean, you tell this person
that
upfront.
wouldn't scare y'all off if the girl
Well,
gave you a time frame.
if it scares him off, that means he's not married. He's not marriage minded, and that's not what he's into right now. And if he leaves, then that's not somebody you want to date. Because then, listen, women, you have an expiration. Like, you need to, you need to what? You don't think so? You think y'all just stay hot forever? Like, you try to lock down a guy when you are at your peak, so you'll have the best chance to secure the best possible guy. Fellas on the line, don't you think that makes sense? Because, like, suppose you have a lady, she's 60 something, like, like, you're not going to be as hot as you were when you were 25. So at 25, the caliber of man that you could get is not the same guy that you will be able to get at 65. Right or wrong, guys?
Yeah,
Them guys, them guys.
Hey, you know what? Yeah, I agree with that.
Okay, like, just be honest. So to me, it's like, you don't have time to waste. And for women who are in their 30s already, it's like, come on, it's like, yo, it's ticking. You don't have the 2-3 years to be dating a guy with the we'll see where it goes. No, don't waste my time. Don't waste my time.
Hey, honestly,
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, dudes will play around out here if you let them. So, I agree with that. Like, if you want to get married, let them know off rip. Let them know what's going on. There are some dudes that'll play around out here. There are dudes that are content with just, going day to day, taking it a day at a time and everything like that. So I think you do have to, I don't know. I don't think after the first date, you want to go, I got like a year plan to get married and get engaged. Maybe I want to probably do that on the first date, but, definitely early on, you want to express what you want from that man and, what you need him to do and what your intentions are from being with him.
And give him a time frame too.
There are some women that do that.
Yeah.
My
Would
best
that
friend,
scare you? Would that scare you off if she gave you a time frame?
It give me something to think about, because like, then that makes me think, okay, like, why am I really doing this? Like, why am I really talking to her? Like, do I want to be married to her? Do I want to get married? I feel like it would make me think, damn, like, is she the one for me? Like, and everything like that. And it kind of cuts out the BS and the running around and, the time wasting and everything like that. So I think ladies should definitely let their intentions clear early on, because, if you don't say nothing to us, then we think everything is good. So,
Right.
and if our mindset isn't there, then,
So the woman has to be the one to bring up the marriage. So if you guys feel like she's wifey material, does she have to say that, or do you guys feel like, I feel she's wifey, I'm gonna ask her? You know what I mean? Like, do you have that desire to be married if you find a wifey?
Well, what we're talking about is not her asking us to marry
I know,
her.
but I mean,
We're
bringing it
talking
up.
about the whole. Okay, like, if I was dating you and you stated, you know what, in 3 years, I would love to be engaged or married. Okay, cool. So now in the back of my mind, I have to do a self-assessment. Do I think I'll be ready to be married in 3 years? Now, the trigger is, it doesn't necessarily mean, will I be ready to be married to you in 3 years? It's just, will I be ready to be married within that window of time that you've given? Now, if it's you, great, fine, hey, let's go. But for some people, they don't necessarily fit that time frame. And then there's also a group of men, truth be told, they'll be with a woman to learn everything that it is that they need to learn to be able to be that awesome, great husband to the next person,
Ooh,
not to the person that they're currently with.
ooh. And do they do that intentionally or it just happen that way?
I
I feel
say
like
both.
it. Yeah, I feel like it's both.
Oh my God. Oof. Yeah. Oh, thank y'all again for just being so honest. Like women need to hear that. Okay. Wow. Thank y'all.